Hi, this is the FTP section of our homework. FTP stands for File Transfer Protocol. In other words, how do we get our files from our desktop, sitting right here, which is C, up to the web? Well, I've got a file here. It's called index.html. And index.html is what our homework page is going to be. It will set it up so that when I click on certain links, the files will pop up. This is how I'll be grading. When I come to do the homework grading, I will not look at your other stuff, but I will come here and click on browser or movie review or graphics page. So you got to make sure, one, that it's up on the web, and then two, it's using the right file name. And let me show you a little trick right here. I click on browser review. It's looking for a file called browser.html, and this is the file it sees. If it's looking for final, it cannot find it. So this is telling me that, oops, that file is not there. So then I have two places to look. Did I actually have a file called final.html instead of final/index.html? Those are the troubleshooting that you're going to have to do. Now, like I said, I've got my HTML here. I'm happy with it. I've tested it out locally. And now what I want to do is make sure that I get it up on the web. So what we're going to be doing is we're using FileZilla. Now you can use any program that you want to get it up there. This is the one I'm going to show you. The reason I like FileZilla is, one, it's free, and two, it's what we call cross-platform. Not cross-platform. It works both on Mac iOS and our good old Windows system. And so that's how we're going to do it. So what we want to do is, first of all, we have to get into our Canvas section right here, and there will be a thing called please introduce yourself. And this is something that you had to do. You had to introduce yourself, and then about second week, end of second week, this is when I will put up this information, which means I set up my server so that you can utilize it. And I must emphasize, it's mine. Even though it is my server, you're still going to have to follow the rules of the college, because, one, being able to do these kind of things, politically, we got to make sure that we are doing the right thing. Plus, good karma. So in other words, no hate material, and obviously no sexual content. So here's what I want to do is I want to use FileZilla, so I click over here, FileZilla, and it'll come up blank. And later on, if you want, you can set up the site manager, which has all that same information, and then just do OK. But I'm just going to do it a one-off for now. So I'm going to click on the host. Well, the host information is right here. It's kind of a weird name because, like I said, it's my server, so it is something that I set up before I even had to use this. And so it's for a customer that I did web work for. Oh, let's get rid of that. Let's jump back here. Now this is going to be my username. I recommend that you copy and paste because it's so easy to make a typo. If you're like me, I'm real dyslexic at times, and I will flip letters inside here, flip letters inside there, and it's just so much easier to just copy and paste. So I go paste. I know the port, which is 21, which is pretty standard for FTP. And then my password. You can copy the password here if you want. Obviously, the password that I'm showing you right now is not the correct password. That'd be kind of silly of me to put the password for the whole world to see. Now, what I'm going to do is I've double checked to make sure I don't have any spaces. So it's that's the address that we're using right now. That is the user ID. Well, yours is going to be different. It's going to be usually your first initial last name at CIS133. Password will be unique to you, and then the port number is 21. And we cross our fingers, hit quick connect. Oh, I typoed it. Let's try that one. Which is kind of good. That's how I know I typoed it. So I'm going to retype my password. Bingo. Now that's a nice thing to kind of keep up here. Typical mistakes, just like I did, wrong password. Putting a space in username or typoing the host name. Once again, just I would copy and paste. There's less likely to be any kind of problems. So now this area over here is up on the web. This over here is on my hard drive. Well, I have a folder on my hard drive called web. You can call it whatever you want at home. If this is on the class, this would be web dev. And I've been actually thinking about changing that. So it matches that, but well, who cares? So now this is the files that I've already been working on. Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to click and drag it over here, and that's how I get my index. But I don't know about you. I'm a little bit on the lazy side. I don't want to, manually create all this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click right here. I'm going to hold down my shift key, click, and then I'm going to click and drag it using my left mouse button over here, and it copies all those files. And if you pay attention down here, it will show you what's going on. And then this will tell you when it's done. Well, now I'm going to click on some additional files like browser. I can hold down my control key and just kind of click around it. Let's go there, let's go there. And once again, I'm going to hold down my left mouse button and drag it over here. Now, another thing you can do that some people find a little bit easier, just double click. Both will do the same thing. I like to do the click and drag because I can find multiple files. Now, if I make a mistake, like I misnamed something, I can come over here, right click on that and go rename. And then it will allow me to rename it. So I'm going to change it from layout-template to just template. I can change the file name. Now, typical mistakes you're going to have here is putting a space in here or cases. In other words, capital T instead of lowercase t. I recommend that you keep all lowercase. Now, we're not done yet because what we have to do next is we have to check to make sure that it works. So now I'm going to go to CIS 133/J and let's see what happens. It's right here. I can click on reload just to make sure that this is the latest and greatest version. So I'm happy as can be, but we're still not done. We're close. Oh man, we're so close. But what I want you to do is we should have a link down here. Make sure that this works. And what we're doing is we're making sure that this page is valid. In other words, it follows the good rules of syntax for HTML. Now, why we care is because there's an 800-pound gorilla out there called Google. And that bad code will impact your rating on your website. So we want to make sure it's the best you can. Well, here's the website. It's cool. I don't have any errors, and so I'm as happy as can be. I've got my files up here. And like I said, I would recommend that you set up a site over here so you don't have to keep adding these user IDs and passwords. This can be kind of annoying. But if you're doing this on campus, oh, you have to every time. It's just, I apologize, but it's really one of the cool things. Now, troubleshooting, like I said, just look to make sure that one, the files are up there, because there's been times people made a mistake and didn't put the file up there. Also, make sure you typed it the same way as you typed it up here. So I've got movie review. Well, I don't have a file called movie.html. So I need to send up a file called movie.html, or I have to rename a file that's already up there. Those are the two ways you troubleshoot it. Well, have fun, and remember that your homework file is going to be called index.html. In the past, it was homework, but now it's going to be index.html. Good luck. Bye.